One of my fondest memories was waking up on Saturday morning, going to Channel 507, HBO Family, and then later on 508 to watch the show again about 30 minutes later, and tune into one of my favorite shows called Happily Ever After, Fairy Tales for Every Child. Unlike the usual television or home video shows that retold classic fairy tales like The Storyteller, Good Times Entertainment, Bevanfield, or even Disney, this cartoon series that took classic fairy tales and completely reinvented them with Black, Latino, Asian, and multicultural casts. Long before modern Hollywood started talking about diversity and representation, HBO quietly released one of the most underrated animated shows of the 1990s. Happily Ever After, Fairy Tales for Every Child. Today, we're diving into the forgotten series that gave us Cinderella in the Caribbean, Rapunzel in New Orleans, Little Red Riding Hood in China, and celebrity voices from some of the biggest names of the era. And honestly, this show was way ahead of its time.
Well, old school. Hello. Are you ready to hear your favorite fairy tales from a fresh point of view? Yes! Then turn on HBO Family for the Jammin' animated series.
Happily Ever After premiered on HBO on March 12, 1995, and ran until July 18, 2000. It lasted for 3 seasons and produced 39 episodes total. The series was narrated by Robert Guillaume, the Emmy Award winner, who's best known for his work on Soap, Benson, and for most people, he provided the voice for Rafiki in The Lion King. The concept was simple, but still nonetheless brilliant. Take famous fairy tales everyone knows, then retell them through the lens of different cultures around the world. Instead of repeating the same European settings audiences had seen for decades, the show transformed these stories into fresh, exciting versions with new music, humor, and cultural identity.
Happily Ever After, Fairy Tales for Every Child. Only from HBO Kids Video.
Nice meeting you. Take care.
This wasn't just cosmetic diversity. The series embraced cultural reinterpretation in ways that felt creative and respectful. For example, they retold Little Red Riding Hood, but it was reimagined in China. Others include Rapunzel, that took place in the Louisiana Bayou. Cinderella was adapted with Latin American flavor. Jack and the Beanstalk featured a Black lead character and a rapping giant. Rumpelstiltskin, Jamaican setting. Snow White, aka White Snow, broadly Native American setting. Beauty and the Beast in an African setting. Thumbelina, broadly indigenous setting. It also told Aladdin, set in a Chinese-inspired setting, a unique contrast to Disney's Middle Eastern interpretation. Ironically, this version was closer to the original folktale, where Aladdin was traditionally described as being from China. That was rare for children's television in the 1990s. Most kids' programming then still centered around traditional versions of these tales. This show challenged that formula. I also have to mention that another wild part of the series was the voice cast. This wasn't any average voice cast. This was a star-studded cast of the time. Episodes featured celebrities from across entertainment, including actors, comedians, singers, and athletes. Various sources note appearances from names like Whoopi Goldberg, Will Smith, Denzel Washington, James Earl Jones, Samuel L. Jackson, Rosie Perez, Gladys Knight, and many more. So not only were the stories fresh, the talent behind them was huge. Also, if the animation looks somewhat familiar, well, That's because animation legend Bruce W. Smith, who worked on the 1992 animation film Baby's Kids, and then, after working on Happily Ever After as one of the key directors during the show's early run, went on in the year 2000 to create The Proud Family. That means before he introduced audiences to Penny Proud and her family, he was already helping shape multicultural animated storytelling through this HBO series. And honestly, you can kind of see it. The expressive characters, lively movement, bold personalities, and strong cultural energy found in Happily Ever After feel like an early glimpse into the creative style Bruce W. Smith would later perfect with The Proud Family. So, in many ways, this fairy tale show was also part of the road that led to one of the most iconic Black animated sitcoms ever made. Despite its quality, the show became somewhat forgotten over time. Why? Because it aired on HBO, not a mainstream broadcast kids network like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, or Cartoon Network. That meant fewer children had regular access to it, especially in the 90s when cable premium channels were less common. Still, the show developed a loyal fan base and later reran on HBO Family. Many people, including myself, also had the crazy thought of, what if this show was to be aired today? But sadly, in today's climate, I feel like this show will not receive a full, warm welcome. In truth, in certain parts of the media community, Happily Ever After would be controversial if released today. Many can agree the show would still be embraced by most audiences, but it will still attract backlash from a loud minority. It would be labeled as woke or DEI by the usual suspects. A talking point within degenerate spaces from very untrustworthy and bigoted sources who won't even watch the show, but will complain because the show doesn't have full white leads, if any at all. A perfect example would be that of modern remakes like The Little Mermaid, which already sparked similar debates, proving the conversation around representation in classic stories still exists. Some praise how naturally the series handled diversity back in the 1990s. Instead of feeling forced, many felt the show simply presented multicultural versions of timeless stories in a fun and creative way. What's interesting is that this proves the series wasn't just ahead of its time in the 90s, it still feels relevant now. If anything, modern online debates may have made the show even more appreciated in hindsight. Despite those people, I still believe that if this series dropped today, people would call it groundbreaking. But the truth is, it already did this nearly 30 years ago. Happily Ever After, Fairy Tales for Every Child proved that classic stories don't lose value when reimagined through other cultures. They become richer. It also showed kids from many backgrounds that they could see themselves in stories once reserved for only one image. That's powerful. So if you remember this series, you already know how special it was. And if you've never heard of it, now you know one of animation's most underrated hidden gems. What episode do you remember most? Drop it in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe for more videos like this.